The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. On Zentrix Prime, a neutral planet known for its shimmering blue skies and towering crystal spires, representatives from countless alien civilizations gathered in an attempt to resolve one of the most pressing issues in galactic history. At the center of it all sat humanity's delegation, Ambassador Laura Hayes and General Nathan Brooks. Their presence was both respected and resented by the other species. Laura leaned forward slightly in her chair, her sharp eyes scanning the room. She had spent years defending Earth's position at these summits, but today felt different. The air was heavier, charged with frustration and impatience. Across the table, beings of all shapes and sizes exchanged glances, some with multiple eyes, others with glowing tendrils instead of faces. They whispered among themselves in clicks, hums, and tones that translators struggled to keep up with. General Brooks sat beside her, his posture rigid, arms crossed over his chest. His uniform was immaculate, adorned with medals earned through decades of service. He rarely spoke during these meetings, letting Laura handle the diplomacy, while he served as a silent reminder of humanity's strength. But even he couldn't ignore the weight of the moment. Something big was coming, and everyone knew it. Counselor Vorin, an elder of the Tyran species, rose to address the assembly. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. For too long, we have extended our hand to humanity, offering treaties of peace and cooperation. And yet, time and again, they have rejected us. We grow weary of this stalemate. A murmur rippled through the room. Some nodded in agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Laura took a slow breath before standing. All eyes turned to her. She was calm, composed, but there was steel behind her words. Humanity has not rejected your offers lightly, she began, her tone steady. We have seen what happens when trust is broken. For centuries, our ancestors were exploited, used as resources by those who claimed to seek partnership. How can you expect us to simply forget? Her words struck a nerve. A representative from the Corelli, a tall, insectoid creature with iridescent wings, spoke next. Your past grievances do not excuse your current behavior. The galaxy faces dangers far greater than any grudge you hold. If you refuse to join us now, you risk dooming us all. Laura clenched her jaw, but didn't flinch. She glanced at Brooks, who gave her a civil nod. Turning back to the council, she continued, we are willing to listen. But we need guarantees. Humanity will not be manipulated or betrayed again. The room erupted into argument. Voices rose, some pleading, others accusing. Amidst the chaos, General Brooks finally spoke. You say the galaxy is in danger. Yet here we sit, debating politics instead of finding solutions. Tell us what you truly fear, and perhaps then we can talk. His words silenced the room. Even Vorin seemed taken aback. It was clear that humanity's defiance wasn't going away anytime soon. As the meeting adjourned, many council members left with scowls on their faces, or whatever passed for expressions among their kind. Laura and Brooks remained seated, watching the crowd disperse. They're scared, Brooks muttered under his breath. Whatever they're hiding, it's bad. Laura nodded, her mind racing. She knew humanity's stubbornness came at a cost. But trusting the wrong allies could be just as dangerous. For now, all they could do was wait and prepare for whatever storm was brewing beyond the stars. Back on Earth, President Andrew Carter paced the length of the conference room in the White House. The walls were lined with screens displaying live feeds from across the globe. News outlets buzzing about the latest standoff at the Galactic Council. His advisors sat around the table, their faces tense as they waited for him to speak. Secretary of Defense Rachel Monroe broke the silence first. Sir, we can't keep ignoring them like this. Every day we delay, more alien factions side against us. If tensions escalate further, we could find ourselves surrounded. Carter stopped pacing and turned to face her. And what would you have me do, Rachel? Roll over and sign whatever treaty they shove in front of us. We've been down that road before, and it nearly cost us our freedom. Before she could respond, Dr. Benjamin Klein entered the room, clutching a tablet filled with data. He was a wiry man in his 50s, with glasses perched on the edge of his nose and a nervous habit of tapping his fingers when he spoke. Today, his hands were trembling, not from nerves, but excitement. "Mr. President," he began, setting the tablet on the table, "we've detected something unusual near the edge of our solar system. Strange energy signatures have appeared, pulsing in patterns we've never seen before." The room fell quiet as everyone leaned closer to examine the readings. Lines of light danced across the screen, forming intricate shapes that seemed almost deliberate. Carter frowned. "What does it mean?" Klein hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "It's too early to say for sure, but these patterns match descriptions found in ancient texts from civilizations long gone. Specifically, the Krylos, a race believed to have wiped itself out millennia ago." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "You're saying this is connected to some extinct species. How is that relevant now?" Klein adjusted his glasses. "Relevant because the Krylos were known for their advanced technology and their ruthlessness. Some legends suggest they built weapons capable of destroying entire planets. If these signals are real, it could mean one of those weapons is waking up." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Carter sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. "So let me get this straight. The aliens want us to join their little club. And now there's a chance an ancient doomsday device might be lurking out there. Is anyone else seeing the irony here?" Rachel crossed her arms. "Whether we like it or not, the timing is suspicious. The Council has been pushing harder than ever for treaties. Maybe they know more than they're letting on." Carter sighed deeply. "Fine. Increase surveillance along our borders. I want every ship, satellite, and probe scanning for anything out of the ordinary. And Klein, I want updates daily. If this turns out to be nothing, I don't want to look like fools. But if it's real..." He trailed off, leaving the thought unfinished. As the meeting adjourned, Rachel lingered behind. She watched Carter stare out the window, his expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "Sir, we can't keep shutting them out forever. Even if we don't trust them completely, isolating ourselves isn't going to protect us." Carter didn't turn around. "Trust is earned, Rachel. They haven't given us a reason yet. Until they do, we stand our ground." Outside, night had fallen over Washington, D.C. The city lights twinkled faintly against the dark sky, oblivious to the storm brewing beyond the stars. Somewhere far away, forces older and more dangerous than anyone realized were stirring. Humanity's defiance might shield them from betrayal, but it wouldn't save them from extinction. On the edge of human-controlled space, Captain Emily Dawson stood on the bridge of the Pioneer Dawn, her sharp eyes scanning the view outside. The starship drifted silently through a vast asteroid field, its scanners working overtime to analyze the strange energy signals detected earlier. The crew was tense, knowing they were venturing into uncharted territory. "Anything yet, Marcus?" Emily asked, glancing over her shoulder at the young engineer seated at the console behind her. Marcus Lee, a wiry man in his late 20s with messy black hair, tapped furiously at the controls. His brow furrowed as lines of data scrolled across his screen. "Not much," Marcus replied, his voice tinged with frustration. "The pulses are faint, but they're definitely coming from somewhere deep inside this field. It's like something's buried." Emily nodded, her mind racing. She had been given strict orders to investigate and report back immediately if anything unusual turned up. So far, all they had were faint readings and a lot of questions. But something about this mission felt different, off even. "Let's move closer," she said, turning back to the main viewport. "Take us slow. I don't want to miss anything." The ship maneuvered carefully between massive chunks of rock and ice, their surfaces scarred by eons of collisions. As they ventured deeper, the energy signatures grew stronger. Suddenly, one of the asteroids ahead caught Emily's attention. Unlike the others, it had smooth metallic sections peeking out beneath layers of dust and debris. "There," she said, pointing. "That's not natural." The crew worked quickly, deploying drones to scan the object. Within minutes, the results came back. Beneath the surface lay a structure, ancient and alien. Its design was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. "Captain, you need to see this," Marcus called out, his tone urgent. He pulled up an image on the main screen. The structure was massive, shaped like a jagged spire covered in intricate carvings. At its base, glowing symbols pulsed faintly in sync with the energy signals. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "Can we get closer?" The ship edged nearer until they were hovering just above the structure. Using the ship's tools, they began clearing away the debris. As more of the artifact was revealed, Marcus noticed something odd about the symbols. "These markings, they look familiar," he muttered. "I think I've seen them before, in old Earth ruins." Before anyone could respond, the artifact suddenly hummed to life. A pulse of energy shot outward, enveloping the Pioneer Dawn in a blinding flash. Alarms blared as systems across the ship flickered and died. "What's happening?" Emily shouted, gripping the railing as the ship shuddered violently. Marcus scrambled to stabilize the systems. "We've lost power to half the ship. Shields are down." Slowly, the lights came back on, though the ship remained sluggish. The crew exchanged worried glances. Whatever that pulse was, it wasn't friendly. Emily took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "Marcus, pull up everything you can on those symbols. If they match Earth's ancient ruins, we need to know why." As Marcus dove into the data, another discovery emerged. Hidden within the artifact's carvings were warnings, cryptic messages etched in long-forgotten languages. One phrase repeated itself over and over. "Asterisk, only the worthy shall endure asterisk." Emily stared at the screen, her stomach sinking. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just a relic. It was alive, and judging by the looks of it, humanity might already be on its bad side. Back on Earth, Ambassador Laura Hayes sat in her office, staring at the encrypted message she had just received from Counselor Voren. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she debated whether to share it with President Carter. The message was urgent, more desperate than anything she'd heard from the Galactic Council before. "Laura," Voren's voice crackled through the transmission, "you must listen carefully. The artifact your people have discovered is tied to an ancient weapon system created by the Krylos. If activated, it could destroy entire star systems. This is not a threat we can face alone. Humanity must reconsider its stance and join us." Laura sighed, leaning back in her chair. She knew the Council wasn't above manipulation, but there was something in Voren's tone that felt genuine. Still, convincing President Carter would be nearly impossible. He didn't trust the Council, and he certainly wouldn't take their warnings at face value. Later that day, Laura met with Carter in the Oval Office. Secretary of Defense Rachel Monroe and Dr. Benjamin Klein were also present. The room was tense as Laura laid out what she had learned. "The Council claims the artifact is part of an ancient doomsday weapon," she explained. "They say it's connected to others scattered across the galaxy. If true, this could explain the energy signatures near our solar system." Carter frowned, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. "And you believe them?" "I don't know what to believe," Laura admitted. "But if they're telling the truth, ignoring this could put Earth, and possibly the entire galaxy, at risk." Rachel spoke up, her voice firm. "Even if the Council is exaggerating, we can't afford to dismiss this outright. We've seen how quickly things can spiral out of control." Dr. Klein nodded, adjusting his glasses nervously. "The symbols on the artifact match patterns found in ruins on Earth. That suggests a connection between humanity and the Krylos, whether we like it or not. It's possible they left these weapons as a test for civilizations they deemed unworthy." Carter rubbed his temples, clearly frustrated. "So, what are you saying? That we should roll over and trust the Council now?" "No," Laura said firmly. "But we need to consider working with them temporarily. Share the artifact's location and propose a joint investigation. It might give us insight into what we're dealing with and buy us time to prepare." The room fell silent as Carter weighed the options. Finally, he let out a long breath. "If this blows up in our faces, it's on you, Laura. Reach out to the council. Tell them we'll cooperate, but only under our terms." As Laura left the room, relief washed over her, though it was short-lived. She knew cooperation wouldn't come easily, especially when so much mistrust lingered on both sides. But it was a start. Meanwhile, aboard the Pioneer Dawn Captain Emily Dawson faced growing unrest among her crew. After the artifact's pulse disabled the ship, tensions ran high. Some believed it was a warning. Others thought it was a trap set by the Galactic Council. "We can't stay here," Lieutenant Samuel Green said during a meeting in the ship's briefing room. "Every second we linger, we risk another attack. Who knows what else that thing is capable of?" Emily shook her head. "We have orders to investigate. If we leave now, we'll lose valuable intel and possibly doom Earth if this thing activates again." Marcus Lee chimed in, holding up a tablet displaying the artifact's carvings. "These symbols keep repeating one phrase: only the worthy shall endure. What if it's testing us, judging whether we're advanced enough or dangerous enough to handle whatever it guards?" The idea sent a chill through the room. Emily clenched her fists, determination hardening her expression. "Then we prove ourselves worthy. We'll decode these symbols, figure out how to shut it down, and make sure it never threatens anyone again." But as the crew prepared to dig deeper, none of them realized just how far-reaching the artifact's influence truly was, or how close they were to awakening forces beyond their understanding. The Galactic Council chamber was alive with whispers and murmurs as Ambassador Laura Hayes addressed the assembly once more. This time, her tone was different, calmer, but firm. She stood at the center of the room, her hands resting lightly on the podium in front of her. "We have discovered an artifact," she began, her voice carrying over the quiet crowd. "It is ancient, dangerous, and tied to a weapons system that could threaten every species in this galaxy. Humanity has decided to share its location, but we ask for your help in neutralizing it." The announcement sent ripples through the council. Some representatives leaned forward, intrigued by the unexpected offer of cooperation. Others exchanged skeptical glances, unsure if this was another human ploy. Councillor Voren, however, nodded slowly, his expression one of cautious relief. "This is a step in the right direction," Voren said, rising from his seat. "But time is short. If the artifact activates fully, it may trigger other devices across the galaxy. We must act now." A joint task force was quickly assembled, combining Earth's brightest minds and bravest soldiers with experts from various alien races. Among them was Lieutenant Samuel Green, whose piloting skills made him invaluable for reconnaissance missions. He worked alongside Captain Emily Dawson, who had returned from the asteroid field to lead the operation. The team gathered aboard the Pioneer Dawn now repaired after its encounter with the artifact. Maps of the asteroid field were spread out on the briefing table, glowing softly under the ship's dim lights. Emily pointed to the location of the artifact, her finger tracing the jagged edges of the rock formation surrounding it. "Our goal is simple," she said, addressing the mixed group of humans and aliens. "We infiltrate the artifact, locate its core, and disable it before it can do any more damage. But be warned, this thing doesn't seem friendly. It attacked us once already." One of the alien engineers, a slender being with translucent skin named Kel, spoke up. "The symbols on the artifact suggest it operates on a form of self-aware technology. It may adapt to our presence. Proceed carefully." Marcus Lee, who had been studying the artifact's carvings non-stop, added, "The core will likely be guarded by traps, or worse. These things weren't built to make our lives easy." As the team prepared for their mission, tensions ran high. Humans and aliens alike struggled to work together, their differences often leading to arguments. Lieutenant Green found himself mediating disputes between crew members, trying to keep everyone focused on the task ahead. Finally, the day of the operation arrived. The Pioneer Dawn hovered just outside the asteroid field, its engines humming softly. Teams boarded smaller vessels, ready to descend into the heart of the danger zone. Emily led the first wave, her helmet visor reflecting the eerie glow of the artifact as they approached. Inside the structure, the air was cold and heavy with silence. The walls pulsed faintly, as if alive, casting strange shadows across the floor. Symbols lit up as the team moved deeper, their glow intensifying with each step. "This place feels wrong," one of the human soldiers muttered, gripping his weapon tightly. "It's testing us," Cal replied, his voice calm but tense. "Stay alert." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A low hum filled the air, growing louder by the second. Panels on the walls slid open, revealing sharp metallic tendrils that shot out toward the group. "Take cover," Emily shouted, diving behind a pillar as the tendrils lashed out. The team scrambled to defend themselves, firing energy blasts and deploying shields. Sparks flew as metal clashed against metal. Lieutenant Green maneuvered his way to Emily's side, his movements swift and precise. "We need to move faster. If those things regroup, we're done for." Emily nodded, her mind racing. "Stick close. We find the core, and shut this thing down." As they pressed onward, the artifact seemed to grow angrier, its defenses becoming more aggressive. Yet despite the chaos, a fragile sense of unity began to form among the team. For the first time, humanity and aliens fought not as separate factions, but as allies united against a common enemy. The deeper the team ventured into the artifact, the more hostile it became. The walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own, glowing brighter as if angered by the intruders. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors, low rumbles, metallic groans, and sharp clicks that sent shivers down everyone's spines. Captain Emily Dawson led the way, her weapon drawn but her focus steady. Behind her, Lieutenant Samuel Green kept a watchful eye on the group, ensuring no one fell behind. Cale, the alien engineer, moved cautiously, his translucent hands hovering over a handheld scanner. "The core is close," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the noise. "But the defenses are growing stronger." As they turned a corner, the corridor ahead lit up with blinding red light. Panels slid open in the ceiling, revealing rows of mechanical arms tipped with razor-sharp claws. They swung down violently, forcing the team to scatter. "Stay together," Emily shouted, firing her weapon at the nearest arm. It retracted momentarily, but quickly returned, faster and more aggressive than before. Marcus Lee, who had been trailing behind, tripped over a loose piece of debris. Before he could get up, one of the claws shot toward him. Without hesitation, Lieutenant Green leaped forward, tackling Marcus out of the way just in time. "Thanks," Marcus muttered, breathing heavily as they both scrambled back to their feet. "We can't keep this up forever," Green said, glancing at Emily. "We need to find the core now, or we're not getting out of here alive." Emily nodded, her jaw clenched. She signaled for the team to regroup and pressed onward. The corridor ended in a massive chamber, its walls covered in pulsating veins of light. At the center stood a towering structure, the core. It was shaped like a jagged pyramid, its surface etched with the same symbols they'd seen throughout the artifact. A faint hum emanated from it, vibrating through the air. "This is it," Cale said, stepping forward. He studied the core intently, his fingers tracing invisible patterns in the air. "The activation sequence is tied to these symbols. If we disrupt them, we might be able to shut it down." "But how?" Emily asked, keeping her weapon trained on the entrances. The sound of grinding metal echoed from behind them. More defenses were coming. Cale hesitated. "I'll need time to decode the pattern, but I can't do it alone." Marcus stepped forward, holding up his tablet. "Let me help. Between my data and your knowledge, we might be able to figure it out." As the two worked feverishly, The rest of the team formed a defensive perimeter. The mechanical arms returned, swarming into the chamber. Lieutenant Green and the soldiers fired relentlessly, their energy blasts lighting up the room. Emily joined them, her movements precise and calculated. Despite the chaos, she couldn't shake the feeling that the artifact was watching them, studying their every move. Minutes felt like hours as Marcus and Cale worked. Finally, Marcus let out a triumphant shout. "Got it. We can overload the core by reversing the energy flow. But it'll take a direct connection. Someone has to manually input the override." "I'll do it," Emily said without hesitation. "No," Green interjected, stepping forward. "You're leading this mission. Let me handle it." Before Emily could argue, Cale interrupted. "There's no time to debate. The core is destabilizing. Whoever does this needs to act now." Green didn't wait for further discussion. He grabbed the device from Marcus and sprinted toward the core, dodging the mechanical arms as they lunged at him. Reaching the base of the pyramid, he connected the device and began entering the commands. The core reacted violently, its glow intensifying as sparks flew from its surface. "Get out of there," Emily yelled, firing at an arm that nearly reached Green. "Almost done," he shouted back, his fingers flying over the controls. With a final press, the core emitted a deafening screech. The entire chamber shook violently as the lights dimmed and the mechanical arms collapsed, lifeless. Green stumbled back, his face pale but determined. "It's done." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, slowly, the artifact's glow faded completely. The team stood frozen, catching their breath as the weight of what they'd accomplished sank in. "We did it," Emily said finally, her voice soft but filled with relief. For the first time in days, hope flickered, not just for humanity, but for every species in the galaxy. The journey back to the Pioneer Dawn was quiet, almost surreal. The artifact no longer pulsed with energy. Its once threatening glow had faded into an eerie stillness. As Captain Emily Dawson and her team made their way through the now silent corridors, they couldn't shake the feeling that something ancient and dangerous had been silenced forever. When they finally reached the ship, exhaustion weighed heavily on everyone. Lieutenant Samuel Green slumped into a seat in the briefing room, his hands trembling slightly as he removed his helmet. Marcus Lee sat across from him, staring blankly at his tablet, while Cale quietly examined the data collected during the mission. Despite their fatigue, there was a shared sense of relief, a fragile but undeniable bond forged in the heat of survival. Back on Earth, news of the artifact's neutralization spread quickly. President Andrew Carter addressed the public in a rare live broadcast, standing alongside Ambassador Laura Hayes and General Nathan Brooks. His tone was unusually humble as he spoke. Today, humanity stood side by side with others, not as enemies, but as allies. Together, we faced a threat that could have destroyed us all. This is proof that cooperation can save lives. The Galactic Council also issued a statement, acknowledging humanity's bravery and ingenuity. For the first time, their words carried no trace of condescension or manipulation. Instead, they expressed gratitude and respect. In the weeks that followed, talks between Earth and the Council shifted dramatically. Trust, once shattered, began to rebuild. Humanity's defiance had earned them a seat at the table, not as subordinates, but as equals. A new treaty was drafted, one built on mutual aid and transparency rather than coercion. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Ambassador Laura Hayes played a key role in these negotiations, her resolve stronger than ever. She knew humanity still had much to learn about the galaxy, but she also believed they had proven their worth. When the final agreement was signed, she exchanged a small, knowing smile with Counselor Voren. The Tyrant Elder nodded approvingly, his expression softening. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "we underestimated you." Meanwhile, aboard the Pioneer Dawn Emily reflected on everything that had happened. The crew gathered in the mess hall for an impromptu celebration, sharing stories and laughter. Lieutenant Green raised a glass, his voice ringing out over the chatter. To teamwork, even if it took near-death experiences to make it happen. The room erupted in cheers, though Emily noticed how some of the alien crew members hesitated before joining in. Old habits died hard, but even they couldn't deny the significance of what they'd achieved together. As the ship prepared to return home, Emily stood alone on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, full of wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But for the first time, she felt hopeful. Humanity wasn't alone anymore. They had allies, however tenuous the alliance might be. Dr. Benjamin Klein summed it up best during a later interview. We used to think the universe was against us. Now we know it's just complicated. Like us, and maybe, just maybe, we're ready to face those complications together. Far beyond Earth's solar system, the artifact remained silent, its secrets locked away. But its legacy lingered, a reminder that survival depended not on strength or stubbornness, but on unity. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see if humanity would rise to meet the challenges ahead. And for the first time, the answer seemed clear: they would.